Phones all on silent, no? Yeah. Okay, come.
Three, two, one, take.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint, our weekly discussion on issues that matter specifically in Goa. We are here today on the eve of Republic Day, when we are shooting this, to discuss and pontificate on an issue which is rather grim and shocking. The basic question that we are going to ask is whether we, as people in Goa and the system in Goa, have failed to deter criminals and rapists and killers of our children. We owe the future of our children, the future that is lived with peace and harmony and overall safety. Have we failed our children on that count? The answer to that is a clear no, unfortunately, because there cannot be any grey area as far as this is concerned. Statistics tell a tale which is absolutely shocking. In the last 5 years, 343 cases of sexual assault and harassment have been registered, though I suspect that that is not the full universe of the problem. It could be even much more. 238 are against girls under the age of 18. In 23 of these cases, the accused have been acquitted or discharged due to lack of evidence. 308 charge sheets have been filed. In 2022, last year, the highest number of cases, 75, of sexual assault or harassment and rape crimes against children have been registered. 3 accused have got sentenced by the courts after trial. 4 accused are in cases of absolute minors who are facing trial under. In fact, three of the accused, are juveniles themselves and facing trial under the Juvenile Justice Act. From 2018 till date, the majority of the victims have been between the ages of 16 and 18. Even under the minor universe, it's that. And in 32 cases, victims are below the age of 16. 105 of these are major in age. Anyway, so these are statistics that one can kind of go on and rattle off, but this was mainly to show a very alarming trend, which is going to become even worse if we don't have a discussion on this and act on this. Unfortunately, the system that is supposed to act on this, let's be very clear about this, has failed primarily because of the huge data which is in front of us, and also the fact that there are so many of our children who are getting assaulted, killed, raped, even as we speak. I have with me probably, and we are very fortunate and honored to have some of the best people with large hearts and dedication who have been trying to reverse this trend and at least bring about some justice. And I will introduce them one by one, and we hope that by the end of this particular discussion we'll have far more insights and a road plan towards some kind of redemption. On my left is Mr. Peter Borges, who is the chairman of the Goa Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Thank you, sir, for being here. Next to him, Advocate Chandan Shirodkar. He is a member of the Child Welfare Committee of North Goa. Next to him is the veteran Auda Vegas, the founder president of Balancho Airport, probably the most known face in this struggle and fight. She's a general of sorts in this war. Next to him is Mr. Matthew Kurian, founder El Shaddai, and a very, very important, one would call him an activist, social worker, and somebody who's done a lot to arrest this trend. And last but not the least, Advocate Caroline Kolasuk, who's a very senior lawyer, criminal and human rights lawyer, who's been around and fought many such cases. I will start with Caroline and move this side and then reverse the trend. Caroline, I don't have any specific questions. I'd just like you to kind of respond a little bit on this conversation that we have started.
So I would say that, of course, the statistics of increasing cases of violence against children, whether it's rape or kidnappings or whatever it may be, is alarming. And of course, for people who have been in the field trying to reverse this trend, it's in fact very depressing. As a lawyer, I would say that one of the first things that one would look at, if in case we are to ultimately see what we consider justice, justice would be at the end to see that the accused gets convicted. And therefore, one of the first things that would be required is a dedicated police and trained police to see that the charge sheets which are filed in the court are watertight. And I think when you in fact read out the statistics to us to say so many cases of acquittals, is the government or is the director of prosecution, and in fact we have a lady director right now who's an extremely, good former public prosecutor. But if they are not given this task to say analyze those acquittals, analyze the judgments, see what went wrong, it would just be again, more and more charge sheet filed. Okay, fine, accused brought before the court. So we are happy when they're brought before the court, but no one is looking at the end result. So if out of 100, 93 are acquitted and nobody is analyzing what went wrong with the investigation, therein lies a much deeper problem then. Like trained police personnel, dedicated police personnel only to crime investigation, all these have been, directed by the Supreme Court, but no one really pays heed to it.
Okay, we'll deep dive into the just opening remarks. We'll get into each of these issues thoroughly. Matthew, I'd like you to just touch upon another different aspect. Criminal investigation is obviously very critical. If you could look at it from the point of our society, and why do you feel that there's an increasing trend where the innocent and the vulnerable are made such horrible victims too?
Okay.
Of this?
So prevention is better than the cure.
Right.
So first of all, we need to empower and educate the children, schools, about, teach children how to recognize good touch, bad touch. It's very important. All the schools need to be educated. Second, teachers need to be trained how to recognize a child who is sexually abused or emotionally abused. And touching that aspect is more important than going to court and judge everything.
That comes later. It's important, but this is
number one. Number two is the number increasing. I'm not sure, because this kind of crime was a part of the society right from the beginning. But now it came more out in public because more people are aware. We are educated. We talk more about it. Olden days, when a child is abused, the parents and the family themselves will suppress it. It's a shame that what if the village come to know, nobody will marry her. But today, we don't care. We are empowered to talk about it, think about it. So first we need to educate the public about the child rights. What is the right of the children? What is a good touch? What is a bad touch? And what a child is entitled for. The census says nearly half of the children are abused, sexually, physically, or emotionally. Nearly every second child. But many a time they don't talk because they are suppressed under the culture. So we need to do more campaign, more awareness, and attend to it. If the legally, when the police do the Panchanama, they are supposed to have a social worker with them to prepare. But we don't have enough qualified social workers to go to all the 47 or 37 police stations to make sure that this Panchanama is written correctly. So police will call anybody because this is one of the many cases they are facing. They just make a Panchanama and send. So if the Panchanama is not written properly, so for 100% sure victim will escape. So we need more social work.
You mean the accused will escape?
Accused will escape. So we need more social workers like Auda. There are quite a few like that, but it's not enough. It's not enough. So you have to attend the issue right in the start, rather than once it go into the court. You both are lawyers. You judge, you argue and judge based on the
Evidence which
Evidence,
is on the
correct. That's why even Caroline mentioned that. She touched upon that aspect. We'll come back to this again. I'll just bring Auda in. Auda, if you could just address the trend, and the fact is the statistics show that it is going up. Matthew said no, it may be going up, but it's also going up because more and more cases are being reported. Just
My experience
yes,
of
absolutely.
the whole thing is a little different. I find that yes, there was one time when we were all struggling to get justice for women when there were hidden facts.
And children mainly. And
It
children.
wasn't children then,
Then, okay.
not as alarmingly as it is now.
Right, right.
Today it is all about children, right from 13 up to 18.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about children, and the worst part is that they're pregnant. We've had n number of pregnancies, and we are opening now a baby clothes bank, because whatever we had with us, we've exhausted, supplying it to the children who have been in hospital, and most of them are children children giving birth to children who are not really based in Goa.
Right.
There is another trend here that since there's POXO Act and no hospital will entertain a child who is pregnant without making it an MLC, medical legal case, then what happens is some of them come to Goa. I'm sorry to say this. They come to Goa thinking that here anything goes, but it doesn't go. It immediately becomes an MLC.
So you're saying a lot of POXO case victims, they actually move into Goa from other states.
I won't say a large number,
Right.
but part of that.
It has been noticed.
It has been noticed
Okay.
that quite a number are coming in only for deliveries here. I feel that it is about a lot of things, not just the police. You should also know the police don't have vehicles.
Correct.
Social
Correct.
workers are taking I'm taking my vehicle to take the child from there to the hospital, to the court, to the everywhere.
Right.
We accompany them everywhere. So
Right.
I think two things are essential. One, to have a lady police inspector, PSI, at every police station. It isn't there. The other thing is there are no sufficient vehicles with them. How will they reach out in an emergency? Or even the thing gets delayed because of lack of vehicles. And they are doing bandobast, and those who are doing bandobast cannot concentrate on the investigation. So investigation becomes haphazard. That's why the charge sheet is not watertight.
Also,
I think
also
all
wanted
these
to ask
things-
you- sorry, please carry on.
Yeah.
I interrupted.
All these things, the authorities or those who are kept here in charge of protection of children have to bring it to the notice of the government, the authorities, and see that I've written to the government several times for vehicles. There is an anti-human trafficking cell in Margaon police station. They don't have a vehicle for the past such a long time. How are they supposed to go and survey the place, see where it is happening, or where
So
some
this cell
crime
is a part of the police station. but-
Yeah, it is a part of Margaon police station.
It's
Right.
been a major issue.
Right.
Even when we dealt with the child abuse cases,
Right.
there is always no vehicle, the police, and
Right.
sometimes our staff has to go in the scooter to Kanko in a 60 kilometer, 80 kilometer distance traveling. And the midnight, sometimes they have to stay longer hours. And the police or the department, nobody provide
Right.
anything for
They
us.
don't have it, sir.
So there are limitations
Right.
for us.
Right. We'll get to Advocate Chandan. You of course wear two hats, but if we can just look at the role that the CWC has been playing. Firstly, if you could just tell us the trend based on what we've discussed and otherwise, and secondly, what are the challenges that the CWC is constantly facing, and secondly, what are the handicaps that you have, which is preventing you from the CWC from doing the job mandated to do.
Yes. So first and foremost is the job of CWC basically is to take care of children who are in need of care and protection.
Right.
That is the main role of CWC.
Right.
But basically, if we look at the discussions as canvassed by my learned
Yes.
colleagues here,
Yes.
as far as crimes against children are concerned, the role of CWC starts after the case is reported to the CWC.
Right. Right.
Okay, and now the cases that that are being reported, as rightly said by Madam and my other colleagues, that children at the age group of 12, 13, 14, 16 years are giving birth to children. One aspect. Second aspect is
This has been noticed by you all as well.
it has been reported.
Right,
These
right.
cases has to be reported to us
Right,
because
right.
it becomes a POXO case.
Right. Right.
It becomes a POXO case wherein we have to actually then find out whether that child, a pregnant child who has become a mother, whether that child needs care and protection. And care and protection can be, whether the child can be institutionalized, whether the child needs counseling. Other things are, if the case is registered, we need to appoint support person for the child. Okay, if the parents are not capable, we need to appoint a fit institution for the child to take care of the child. So these are the basic issues which we face. Another aspect which I want to stress on, and it is rightly said by you, madam, that there is a new trend of women, major of age, minor in age, coming to Goa for delivery. That we are facing, that these cases we have been facing now since the last, you can say, many months.
And many of these cases are linked to violence cases or POXO cases.
Yes.
Okay.
So these are such issues. And third thing is the internet. During the lockdown period, most of the schools were online. So almost all children had access to mobiles.
Right.
Thanks to that internet, many have gone into such acts, wherein it has, such acts have brought them within the purview of Juvenile Justice Act or POXO Act. That there are runaway children. Okay, there are children who had physical relations with minors or majors. Then there are children who actually, thanks to this internet and getting friendly to, on the other side of the line, have delivered babies. So this trend is actually at an alarming rise. It's at an alarming rise. So this is a new trend which we are facing actually. And the challenge is, so far as we are concerned, as CWC is concerned, is, luckily we have institutions like Al Shaddai. Then there are other institutions. There are many institutions who cater to the needs of such children who are in need of care and protection. So, but what we actually face sometimes are, during the rescue, if a case is reported to us, like then, we contact Childline or we contact some NGO. But then, as madam has said it, that, police have their own limitations when it comes to vehicles, when it comes to going out there, rescuing the children. Then, another trend is that we have to take them for medicals.
Right.
Their COVID tests. Then only they are admitted.
Right.
So these are the basic issues that we face as of now. So,
Peter, now the thing is, we've all discussed. You are, in a sense, the government.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously, a lot of these questions will be directed against you because you hold a responsible position. We also understand the constraints under which you work, which we have noted and that. But obviously, that was mainly to kind of be an eye opener and see that there is an improvement. Just tell us a little bit, because many of our viewers may not be completely abreast of what the Child Rights Commission does. But just tell us what it is mandated to do and what you've been attempting to do. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so Goa State Commission for Protection of Child Rights is a quasi-judicial body which primarily has 3 acts to monitor. One is the Juvenile Justice Act, one is the POXO Act, and the other is Right to Education, RTE Act. So there are sections within the act where it is clearly mentioned that Commission has to monitor. Besides that, we are open to any cases which come to us, and then we hear those matters. We also take a lot of matters suo motu, so that whenever it comes on the paper.
But when you say cases, I'm asking this mainly because I want to be clear rather than I'm asking this because what happens is, normally when there is an investigation that happens under any of these acts, the cases normally go to court.
Yeah.
In which situation would it come to the Commission?
So, I mean, wherever there is a violation of child rights seen, those kind of cases are the ones which come to the Commission. Apart from that, we also notice that a lot of cases which are already sub judice, or some family matters which can be settled in the court, and those also come to the Commission, and sometimes we take a call whether to accept.
No, but cases of, say, violence or rape and other things against children, would that come under you?
Yes, definitely under POXO and Juvenile Justice Act. So this area is definitely under our monitoring, especially when it comes to POXO, whatever is being discussed, violence against children. So Section 44 of the POXO Act deals with monitoring. So of late, Caroline was telling about monitoring and analysis. So that's the first thing past 2 months I am doing. So POXO completes 10 years of its enactment.
Right.
And there was a review by Supreme Court Juvenile Justice Committee recently which I represented the state, and whatever was seen there wasn't very pleasant.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
I mean, conviction almost very negligible. Victim compensation almost zero. I mean, hardly anything. Like
This was a study conducted.
yeah, I mean, it's a
Okay.
review
Review,
conducted by
okay.
Supreme Court Juvenile Justice Committee to their High Court Juvenile Justice Committee.
Okay.
So
And this is Goa specific.
yeah, so Goa specific. So after coming from the review, I thought of analyzing what. So data is still coming, but few early findings or early observation points out to again low conviction.
Low conviction.
Low conviction, that's very not so good. Victim compensation is something which is completely, I mean, this is something, I mean, in terms of money, like, you know, there is some responsibility of the government, and it has seen a lot of changes, like a lot of high courts have heard the matters and passed various judgments, but in our state, there have not been any amendments, like, you know, trying to revise. So for example, 2015 to 2022, I've been analyzing after getting the figures from both the district magistrate. Everywhere it is nil, like, you know, applications are pending here or applications are rejected.
So
Because
how many such applications according to would be pending?
I mean, both the DM's data, I don't have the exact figure, should be around 100 plus.
There will be 100 plus
Yeah, so
victims
and,
waiting for compensation. Could be more as well.
Could be more as
Right,
well.
right, okay.
And this is something which is
No, this compensation
again,
is given for victims of any kind of violence.
any kind, but then there is a POXO.
Yeah, anybody can come in also in this
Yeah.
discussion. Feel
There
free
is
to
a
come
special
in.
clause under POXO Act where
Yes.
the special judge or the POXO judge has the power to give interim compensation. And then again, the CWC also has the power to give interim relief, basic immediate needs soon after the FIR is registered. So a lot of things.
So who is accountable here? Which agency would be accountable?
So
When we say government, but we need to make an agency accountable.
Actually, when a victim comes to us, we have to get the FIR, we have to get a copy of the medical report, and with all that, there is a form which we fill for the victim along with her account number, and we forward it to the collector.
Okay.
That was a procedure. We have done that, and I won't tell you the number of cases, but like he rightly says, all are rejected because of one section in the Compensation Act 4B.
Okay. What
4B.
is the section?
So that section says that if the accused is identified, then no compensation is given. But what I feel is the child has to move on in life.
Right.
The child has to go to school. The child should be pushed back into the system. We can isolate a child, and at that point of time, the child needs money. The parents need money. They don't have money to fight a case. So if victims are turning hostile in the court, this could be one reason. And nobody, she rightly says, there's no analysis of why it's going wrong.
And the compensation is given by the DM's office?
The government had to give it, but
Yes.
that is
Given
not
the
happening.
yes.
But recently, we had a meeting at the High Court, and the High Court has tried to put matters in order. Already an appeal is gone. We drafted something and have given to the High Court, and it's going to come into force. But how long it will take, I cannot say.
So the
There's
commission.
also in the prison,
Yeah.
like when every accused who is there, they get some monies for works they do work, gardening in the bakery and
Right.
thing. So amount of whatever they earn, whatever is their salary per day, and a particular amount just gets deducted, and it all goes to something called a victim compensation fund.
Okay.
So I don't know, and I heard that there is really lots of money collected there, but perhaps it's just remaining there and not
This
getting.
is for prisoners, you're saying?
Yeah, so he's an accused, right?
Right,
So
right.
that actually is, like for example, whether he's the accused.
I see.
So
I
if
got you. Right,
a,
right. Okay.
a
okay.
part of his income, what he's earning in the prison, is being kept and siphoned aside for that victim.
Right.
But it is that fund, at least for sure, is being monitored under the Prison Act, IGP prisons. This must be something else. This is under the law. I mean, of
Correct.
the POXO law.
Correct.
But even there is huge amount, but I think it's not getting disbursed.
One case like this, some years back, there was an elderly lady who was raped by an elderly man, and rightly what she says is from the court they got 50,000 rupees.
Because his money was just getting deducted, whether you like it or not. If his earnings, say their earnings are 30 rupees a day, some 12 rupees something gets cut, and therefore by the time he's finished his sentence is quite a huge amount. which
Arun
goes.
Chandra, you have anything to say on this? It's an
No,
important point.
basically, there is an amount which is decided by the court to, the special court to grant to the victim. But as Madam has said, that particular section, if the accused is identified, then that the victim is not eligible for compensation. Or otherwise, if the accused is not known.
But since this is an issue that
So,
you
but
are aware
all accused are identified.
Yeah, so what
So,
is
which
the
victim is going to get the
See,
compensation?
the
That is a
scenario-
debatable issue actually.
The
It's a
scenario
debatable-
is that anything to do with the money getting from the department is almost impossible. They will make delay or they'll find fault in every minor
No, but if
thing
but
and delay.
but my point
Look at
is,
the number of cases, not
I
a
know,
single
I'm
one
shocked
got a
as a-
compensation.
But tell me the issue.
There is a Nirbhaya fund.
Right.
Where
Right,
has the
nobody
money
got-
gone?
No, the
This
Nirbhaya
whole
fund
thing
is
of
instituted by the center,
the whole
right?
Yeah,
thing
but
of
where is the money for the
compensation,
Nirbhayas?
whole thing of compensation has come from the Nirbhaya fund. So where is the money? Why is the state not trying to
disbursing.
exert its?
That giving money is a
To get
big
the money.
challenge.
So you mean money is coming under the Nirbhaya fund? It's coming.
There is a Nirbhaya fund.
Huge amount is been sent back. 1 year there was 80% went back. The
From
money
this
that
fund?
80% is sent. Even last year, the money is gone back. The money that came from central government has gone back. Me as an NGO, number of years, the WCD is supposed to give me money per child, 2,000. Number of years they haven't given. And even they give, some time the whole house they don't give. Some silly excuse somewhere, some mistake.
Arun Chandra,
The
why
mistakes
is
can be
CWC not
corrected.
given?
No. CWC is not concerned with
They only
the
come in
funds.
section.
We see our role. We are a bench of magistrates to deal specifically with the cases of children. Institutions like Al Shadda and other childcare institutions, they are registered under the JJ Act, and their registering authority is DWCD.
Ah, okay.
So the funding,
Has to
everything
come from
is a
DWCD.
different
Whether
aspect.
it's a victim or whether it's an institution like us, whether it's a welfare program, everyone faces the same problem that they don't give the money. So now, Peter Borges mentioned that 100%
Yeah.
he's gone free.
Right.
So the whole court system became like a joke. It's
And,
like a
and,
tamasha.
an NGO like yours would be entitled to.
We are with the victim. We are
You're
working
entitled to
hard.
government funds on this.
We are entitled.
Right,
We
right.
do get the funds. It's not
Right.
that we don't get, but we don't get enough funds, and we don't get those funds in time. I employ number of employees, maybe 150, 200. I cannot tell them that come for salary next year. No, I have to give them on the end.
Of course.
We have to depend on the public with the begging ball. When there is funds, huge funds sitting in the department is meant for the children. Even Auda goes around trying to help the victim, or Immediate and Audrey, or whoever it is. They all have the same problem because some mistake somewhere they found and they don't give the money. So
Without-
the whole system become like a joke.
Actually, I've worked for 30 years non-funded. I've run my NGO with the strength of my own hands, making articles, selling them, and my own resources and volunteerism. We have never taken funds from the government. Now I run the OSC. That is the government's baby. It's central government plus our Goa government, Department of Women and Child. Now the funds are there. They're sanctioned.
But you got it? No, that's it.
So this is how they make actually acts redundant, because sometimes the strength of any act is the backup that the government gives. I remember studying the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, or PWDV Act. That's a very good act. In fact, it was hailed after 1 year of that act. A celebration was done by women's activists, which they had in Delhi, to say what a fantastic, legalistic in that sense, made very easy. Now, the strength of that act would have been if the government put in money for counselors, for halfway homes,
Correct.
for all. And Goa, when we looked at the statistics of a seminar which was held 2 years analyzing the act, was the only state in the entire country which gave zero contribution towards the promotion of this act. So if the Goa government doesn't put its money where its mouth is, that act automatically, like as Matthew says, they just designated certain convents and homes which are already doing some women's work. Okay, fine, you are the halfway shelter home. After 2 years, we went back and we were sending women there, women in distress. Sister said, we are not taking. I said, why not? She says, 2 years, no money. Government has designated us, it is shown that we are the designated halfway home, but how can we function without any? So the government has not allocated. So automatically that act has died a natural death, in the sense no counsellors, no halfway homes, no family welfare experts, which is the strength of that act, because nobody likes to go to court.
There should be a family court to back up this act. Because if there's a family court, the whole system is simplified.
Right now it goes into the normal judicial procedure.
Correct. And therefore the
I have-
delays,
I
and
have
therefore
given-
victim has to depose about 2 years later. Half the facts is forgotten, plus she's fed up of now what kind of a thing. So that is one of the ways to, like, I mean,
The
to-
cases
And they are
don't
poor
move.
people. They cannot afford to come to court.
I just
every
want to
now
go
and
back to one section 4 that you mentioned, the
4B,
4B. This 4B of which act now?
Compensation, Victim Compensation Act.
Okay. Now, so you said that this particular section nullifies compensation if the victim is, if the accused is
Accused
identified.
identified.
Now, if that is the act, or if that is the law, how are other states managing? Because the point is, I'm sure other states will not have this.
I can tell you
I'll get back to
proudly,
you. Yeah.
proudly that all states are giving compensation to the victim. We had one victim who was abused by somebody from Maharashtra. The people from there came, filled up her form, and she's got her compensation.
But why isn't 4B an impediment in other states? How are they working around it?
The 4B, I don't know what, this I think is an act from Goa.
Is it?
I think it's a Goa Compensation Act.
If you could throw light on this. Yeah.
So the Goa Victim Compensation Scheme, so basically it was done under the central government
Statute.
conceptualized and order. So a lot of other states realized that the issue of sexual assault wasn't there. That was also not figuring in the scheme, and also this 4B, and a lot of them approached High Court.
Other states, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, there were some parties which approached High Court. I don't remember the exact. So in 2018, the Supreme Court directed NALSA to conceptualize another scheme, and their
This could
victims
you
of
elaborate what NALSA is for viewers. When you use the word
National Legal
National
Service.
Legal Services Authority.
Yeah.
National
Right.
Legal Services.
Services
Right.
Authority.
Yeah, so they directed NALSA, they made a committee, and they said improvise on the scheme and include sexual assault. So accordingly, another scheme was conceptualized, another direction came, and then in 2018 they made a scheme called Goa Women's Victim Compensation, something which is also notified. Now a lot of them also went. The POXO Act had a clause, I think section 8, I think, where it said like the special judge on its own or on an application by the victim could sanction interim relief, may sanction interim relief.
Under POXO.
Yeah, under POXO.
Right.
So that practice, I believe, is not started, like,
Okay.
and that is supposed to be processed by the State Legal Service Authority. Yeah, so that has again not started.
So that is another issue. We are opening up one more issue.
So there are a lot of things like, because the scheme was not functioning properly, other states have done changes. For example, I know Telangana and Andhra Pradesh included a chapter in their original scheme to include Kerala also, I think Delhi also. So there was a lot of amendments which were done in the schemes to accommodate help for minor victim of sexual abuse of
So you're saying on one hand that is not
so
being
in
done
our
by
state
both.
this is not done.
Okay.
And now I think past 1 month I've already moved a file to Special Secretary Home, who is also my secretary of the commission,
Yes.
to make sure that this at least is started, like in some cases, and there is a question from which fund to give. I mean, I'm of the opinion that once a court passes an order, I mean, government should,
The fund should be
which-
arranged.
I mean,
Correct.
whichever fund,
The
like,
government should decide which
Yeah,
pocket is
make-
going to take
yeah,
its money
yeah.
out from.
Correct.
That
yeah,
is-
so
Make an allocation.
so that is
Yes.
what, and again, like, coming to restorative care and support for victims, again, is as a chairperson of the commission, I found it very depressing. In fact, I'm using the word depressing because the whole system is not capacitated. Right from imagine POXO rules themselves are not notified. Any POXO rules, I think, if they are central, they need to be notified on a gazette, state gazette, so that
They're
they
not
become
notified.
effective. So something which I am also pursuing, means there is another section 39 of the POXO rules which talks about appointment of expert, appointment of translators, appointment of professionals, empaneling them so that they are made available to the court as well as to the NGOs. So that is also again those guidelines are not notified. So this become impediments. Even like I got some hold of data from the Directorate of Prosecution, and I was saying like POXO case is supposed to be deposed within 1 year or so, and 6 years, 7 years.
Model guidelines, as far as OSC scheme is concerned, we are
OSC is One Stop Crisis Center.
One-Stop Crisis Center.
Okay.
We are following the Section 39. Those are guidelines, model guidelines for the POXO Act.
Right.
We follow them, like we take them to the hospital, the experts are there, and we do it properly. But we follow those guidelines. Now whether they are notified or not,
See,
but I follow them.
So the District Child Protection Unit is supposed to be
DCPU is
again that's not functional. But coming back to my very important point, the delay in trials and the amount of adjournments and things like that. I'll come out with a report, but then what was more, looking at the summary like that, that victim, we are as support system, our role is to heal the victim of the trauma.
The
Right.
problem
By
is
delaying the matter, you are again telling the victim to recollect what has happened, again bringing those traumatic experiences.
the
Ignore
child
this-
is going
this
through the
is
same
not done.
No,
trauma.
one point I'd like to make here is that the government has kept such a sensitive man in a sensitive position.
So
But not
because
allowing
they're
him to
not
do
arming him
anything.
with the power to do his job.
Not
Re-victimization
allowing
is
him to
something.
do anything. That's
Because
the
it's
problem.
it's actually refreshing to see a person in this
Yes.
position at least with
He's
a heart to do
concerned.
it.
He's
But the
concerned.
point is then he's left
See,
without
the
Yeah.
solution comes
Yes.
only if government appreciate and promote NGOs more. We need social workers from the community, not the government employed employees. Government employed employees has to work between the instruction. They cannot step right or left. They cannot use the emotion because they will be penalized for it. But people like us who are NGOs, like social workers, we go with our heart. We risk our lives sometimes
right,
without the fear of it. So the government has to trust people like us and empower us, not making the laws and not implementing, not allowing the funds to be given, making it so difficult that almost impossible. We done the victim assistance for 10 years. Not even once we got money from the government. Neither we never asked for it because
Right.
it's such a headache to run after that money. So government has to loosen up and trust the NGOs, trust the social workers, empower the social. We need more and more social workers. If you go to any developed countries, social work is done by associations like ours, not by the government. So government employing social workers and starting this and starting
Right,
that,
right.
it has not been working at all.
Right. Yeah, I'll just come to you.
Oh,
Give me
yeah,
1 minute. I'll just come to you. Caroline, if we could just, anybody can come in anytime you want to. Just wanted to have one more aspect covered in this discussion. See, if we look at the hard statistics and if we look at the number of cases that are going up, we are also seeing that girls between the age of 16 and 18 are becoming more victims. Of course, boys are also victims of violence, but girls especially. Now, can we just pinpoint as to the reason why this is happening? Is it only happening amongst migrants and people who are coming from outside, or is it happening within the society? A lot of the time, the violence is perpetrated by people in the family and in the known circle, as it were. If you could just pinpoint as to why this sudden rise. We've also come across cases of parents themselves injuring children and killing them. I'm not talking of the Kanduli case because we still don't know, but again that was a shocker. But we had a case where this lady in Vasco, I think Chikali, smothered
Killed her child.
Yes. So I'm essentially trying to look at that aspect. We've spoken about the government aspect, legal aspect, and we can speak more on that. But if we can just look at purely from the trend that you all are seeing, why is this happening?
I would say that there is a lot of us. I mean, I think Chandan raised it earlier. There's so much of exposure on the internet, and there's so much of sudden explosion of, like, and that is a curious time, age 14, 15, 16.
Right.
So a lot of experimentation in sexual encounters happens. So some, of course, in fact, there's a lot of debates. Even judges are sometimes flummoxed a bit to say, you can look at. So technically the age of rape, I mean, it's what would be considered mandatory rape, girl under the age of 18, whether she consented, the question of consent doesn't come,
arise, yes,
it doesn't
yes.
arise, it's called
Yes.
mandatory rape.
Right.
But increasingly that age group, 16, 17, in fact sometimes they are finding that the girl has made so much of the advances. She in fact has, called the boy. There are a lot of text messages, the love letters are written, the cards are written by her. So there is judges sometimes feel a little bit like, so it kind of looks as if it's in the consent. So they're tending to be a little more lax when it comes to that 17, 18 years group, because it kind of looks a bit voluntary,
That
consented,
is rape, but
etc.
what about killings?
So killings, it's, I think, quite, for what I would say, a lot of pressures that are happening within the family. You won't believe the number of cases of divorce that have taken place. I'm just about tired, literally, dealing with cases of, fighting for custody of children. And if you, what is happening is, one department, or like I say, one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. Because of the fact that there is lack of statistics and analyzing of statistics, and there is no correlation between departments. Like, for example, when we were studying domestic violence, it would have to look at, for example, why the number of cases of of depression or increase in the mental health of women is deteriorating. Look at IPHP statistics and find that number of cases of women going into depression. Now, obviously, there is a correlation. So, if there is stresses like this, if the family is under so much of pressure, either with divorce or with mental health, or with, women are getting married late, and therefore children with newer kind of problems we never heard of. ADHD seems like a very common thing.
Right.
Women getting married late, and therefore you have a lot of children who are born with physical and mental disabilities. So these are causing stresses in the family, and I would say then concomitantly it would result in increase in such cases. Just
Okay.
because of the tremendous pressure that the families are under,
Right.
which is not at all being looked at or analyzed.
Although
I
anybody
think-
can come in.
I think what I add to what Caroline has said is that separation and divorce is becoming a big issue.
But is it reflecting in violence against children?
It is.
Very much.
It
Okay.
is.
Child
In
gets very
fact,
badly affected.
in fact, I have written a booklet recently, which I have not yet released. It's on co-parenting and shared parenting.
Yes.
You see that one parent will bias the other parent against the parent. Whoever has the custody of the child biases. So this
No,
kind of
I mean,
stress.
as a lay person,
Yeah.
and I'm asking somebody who's far more experienced to try and explain
Yeah.
what is the,
The killing,
direct
like
linkage
she
between a
rightly
marital
said.
discord and the killing of a child.
She rightly said, I have seen parents deprive either parent of the right to meet the child. And if there's a pressure exerted on any visitation, there is a possibility even of killing the child just to see that the
Spite.
child doesn't go to the mother or father. This is a possibility. And the stress of marital thing has a mental effect on the women. And that is something that never gets addressed. And that could cause her to do a lot of things, even go to the extent of killing, because she doesn't know what she's doing.
And I'll,
She's lost her
sorry.
balance.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'll come to another scenario from the CWC's perspective.
Yes, yes.
That we have received cases wherein most of the time sizable amount of migrants, you can say, they will come and they'll say, okay, why you have come here? No, I want to admit my child in a CCI. Well, what happened? I can't take care. Where is your husband? Husband ran with someone, or husband is remarried, husband has died of drinking, or husband is not to be found.
Right.
What we have realized there is that that their marital ties are not recognized by the government because they don't have anywhere to go. We ask them, okay, where are your marriage certificates? Where is the father? They don't know anything. They say we have got married in a temple.
Right.
As far as although the trauma is the same, but I think Goa that way, I think it's far luckier because our marriages are compulsorily registered.
Right.
Okay, but in this case here, that is one aspect. It means what that the children are automatically, put in the category of care and protection. Means vulnerable children because
yes.
mother cannot take care. Second thing is they stay in such localities, which otherwise is termed as illegal, but no authorities are turning a blind eye on that.
Okay.
As Mr. Korean has said that we have to dig at the cause of the problem, the root of the problem. This is one of the basic and main root that we send the child line to find out about to do the case study of that particular family.
Right.
Surrounding is dangerous. Almost
Slums,
half of the
hovels,
that
kind
so-called
of,
colony is drinking. It's all like jhopadpattis and all. Automatically, that place becomes a vulnerable place for the child.
Right.
It becomes a dangerous place for the child.
Correct.
Then the state of Goa is left with no other option but to provide for such children who otherwise do not belong to the state of Goa, and their respective states are also capable of taking care of them. That is one aspect. Second issue which I want to stress here is that many a times, because of lack of employment opportunities or, due to poverty, or other geographical factors rather, many a time people are forced to migrate. But then they come along with their children not knowing what they are going to do, where they are going to stay, and then automatically the children are at risk. And, so to sum it up is that as CWC we are facing such problems because we are finding it difficult to find place.
Right.
Mostly for boys, minor boys, young boys, because almost our CCIs are full, childcare institutions are almost full. So, basically what I am trying to say is that these are some issues wherein, this has to be highlighted by almost all governments that, when you get into the marital ties, there has to be some records maintained.
Right.
Because there are many young children. Sometimes what there are other respective states, there are, you can say child marriages are rampant. So unlike Goa. But then what happens when they are brought here, husband either dies or runs away with someone or for whatever reason. Then that minor girl along with the child is alone. So they don't know what to do. Ultimately
working
the
also,
burden
yeah.
comes on the state
Single
of
mother
Goa.
working.
Yes.
Many of the cases we found, what he says, like that's the reason I was saying, like if there's no cohesive working, this would come under labor department perhaps. You look at those construction, booming construction, they're supposed to give those workers of that construction proper sanitation, proper houses.
Yeah, that is never done. Correct.
So never done. So that's the reason. Then you should see those kids all playing around, completely vulnerable, and the mother herself, as you said, the fathers run away, the fathers not to be seen, the mothers at work, keeping young children alone in the house or care of just some neighbors or something, and then that's when quite a lot of
Peter, I had one thought.
I just want to
Sure,
about it.
absolutely.
See, there are a few issues. Number one, I mentioned about the mental issue. This mental psychological problem is like a fancy word for poor people. They have no idea. There is no care for them. They do have mind.
You mean it does happen, but they don't know.
But
about
they
it.
don't know,
Yes,
and there is nobody to care.
Yes.
And they get married very quickly, and after 2-3 children, they lost the fancy, and man start drinking, beating, and broken. In Goa, from one end to other end, there are thousands of women who are working in people's house like slaves, and they all have children. You said CCA has no place. We have place. I started looking at these women, and all of them have children. If they leave the child alone in their hut, there is a good possibility the child get raped by another idiot.
So you all
Sorry.
offer protection to these children.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there are problems, psychological problem, which is affecting them very badly, which nobody addressed. We have one IPHB. You take a patient, after 1 week, they'll throw them out, whether they healed or not healed. I went to talk to them, argue with them. They said we cannot, because from Sindhudurg to Karwar, there's only one mental hospital. They cannot tolerate. So government has to address the issue of psychological problem and meeting that need very urgently, because mind problem is worse than the physical problem. You said about children getting killed by parents because they are mentally affected. They find no hope to live for. They look at the girl child. Sometimes mother feel, I don't want my daughter to go through what I went. And many a case she don't even trust her own husband. There are a lot of deep-rooted problems which nobody is looking. and migrants. Majority of the people who are in need is migrants. But India is one country. It is the government responsibility. If these builders are bringing laborers here, they should insist the builder to provide
Ensure the
basic
health.
education, sanitization, accommodation.
That doesn't never happens.
Yeah, but
Like Right
nobody
to
put any
Education Act
implementation on
is
it.
there. Right to Education Act is there.
It was
The schools
implemented
are
for a
supposed-
short time,
Yeah.
then it's all shut
Yeah,
down.
it's shut down. They
Peter,
should
you wanted
bring
to
the
respond
children.
on this? Or should I ask my question?
So there
Okay,
were
respond, I'll ask.
two responses
Yes,
to
yes.
Caroline and of course our friend Matthew.
Hmm.
One is precisely the issue of mental health. Now there are two things which need to happen according to me and how I see things. The Mental Health Act rules need to be notified. If that is notified, a lot of systemic intervention will be in place. And second thing is the biggest need, we might have a lot of prevention programs, lot of things, but if we don't have a system which is responding,
the problem.
service providers, then it's going to, for example, the counselors in the school. I think only 262 counselors.
There are no counselors
So,
in many schools.
yeah,
we are
so-
sending our counselors.
Just-
Legally,
62
they
is
are
a-
supposed to
is
have
a-
their
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean that's somewhere we need to, because post-COVID counseling has become a mental health care services is becoming a major need, and I think if not one counselor per school, at least
Even
recruit
that
more
one counselor
counselors.
per school.
Yeah.
A school of 1500 students. What the heck one
Will one
counselor
counselor
can
do?
do?
Correct.
So
and
that-
It's a joke.
And 60 counselors all over the state is
But
again
also
a
once a week.
Once
the
a week.
counselor will come once a week.
Yeah,
We-
so that's
we-
again
But
a need.
not in all schools, sir. This
I
has
understand.
Yeah,
to
so
be-
Yes, yes.
there has to be coverage everywhere. Even lately, I raised a demand for counselors in special school. Sometimes we think that they don't have any needs, or they don't have sexual needs and things like that. Lot of abuses, none of the abuses are reported, and I'm sure there must be abuses of
happening there
children
also.
happening there also. They are not able to express. Neither there are systemic help which is helping them to express. So that's one thing which I want to. Another thing which Caroline pointed out was the whole issue of 16 to 18 cases that. So there was this discussion, and this discussion happened at even our Chief Justice made a mention. So they defined these cases as romantic cases. So this is something also the trend which we see, and there were discussions surrounding whether we should reduce the age of sexual maturity. Yeah, so there are discussions, but we need to analyze, especially in Goan context. We need to have a thorough analysis if we are going to give any feedback to the lawmakers to change any provisions. But this Enfold Bangalore has done a study of 3 states, and they have come out with some wonderful findings. We also need to establish research, analyze, what's
Because the
happening in
girl,
our state.
if she's friendly with the boy,
Yeah.
refuses to depose then
Yeah.
against
Yes,
him, and
yes,
that's the
yes.
whole case would go.
Yeah.
She just refuses to even identify him, because sometimes, let's assume, don't even take her statement, take the mother, because quite often the parents are the
Yeah.
complainant. They
Yeah.
don't want this relationship, so they file the
Right,
lodge the
right,
complaint. The victim is not ready to say, because she is in
See,
a romantic
the
alliance.
reason is that these two are lawyers, they are well versed with the court. But average poor layman is damn scared about the court.
Correct. Just going there.
Going to
is
court
scary.
means 10 years you are stuck running
Right,
after. Where
right.
do I find the money to pay the lawyer?
Correct.
Sometimes the lawyer himself pressurize, even abuse
Settle,
them.
and tells them to settle
And
also.
tell them to settle with the
Yeah.
accuser.
Yeah.
So they feel it's like just getting a bad name. Even
Right,
children's identity need to be protected. Many a times the media publish, or people come to know somehow. Entire village know that my daughter was on who's
Right.
raped.
Another
And they don't want to put up with it.
another issue also here is that many times it's one of the parent, and normally basically when it comes to sexual offenses, it's always the mother. Say against it can be uncle, father, whoever.
Yeah.
Sometimes most of the time it's relatives, or maybe as Caroline has said, this so-called romantic cases.
Right.
But what happens is over a period of time, it's the complainant who then pressurizes the victim. We have come across certain cases wherein the victim is pressurized.
Right. Absolutely.
Pressurized, to then change the statement. Because now see what has happened has happened. It's as Mr. Korean has said, they don't want to be in this this mess anymore. So what they tell is that what's the purpose? What's the use? Whatever has happened. Now we cannot undo the thing, so let's forget it and let's
Correct.
stay together. This is one issue.
There
which
is a
is
saying,
we face.
justice delayed is justice denied.
Denied.
And that's
So
playing out all
a
the time.
child, when a girl of 12 or 13 or 14 years is abused, case is going 10 years, 5-6 years. Now girl is getting ready for the marriage age. How many parents want that girl to have a court case?
Or get into prolonged litigation. Correct.
So they want to prepare the girl for marriage. So
Right.
close the case. Let's get on with life.
Okay, we're almost running out of time, but we'll use the next 2-3 minutes that we have for each of you to sum up and look at, some kind of a pathway towards course correcting many of the issues that you've raised. Let's have a solution-based thing. So each of you can take 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then we'll wind up. We'll start with you.
So two things we have to enhance. One is the protection part of it. Especially I feel the schools and any organization dealing with children should have a child protection policy, so that we have early intervention, early way of recognizing because a lot of cases come suddenly from school settings, somebody from coaching centers and things like that. So that needs to be addressed. Second thing, we all need to work together. Justice is one thing, but restorative care and support to the victim, which is again very important. We need to all work. The state need to work. The
Right.
support system need to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, as far as from my experience on CWC experience is concerned, what I feel is that there is an urgent need of sensitizing the society, and when I say sensitizing the society, it means reaching out to the stakeholders like the panchayats, like the churches, temples, schools, wherein you have to be actively involved.
Correct.
Actively involved in explaining to them about what is happening in the real world and about all these acts and what can be done, and what are those commissions and omissions that should be avoided, like where you can avoid getting into a tussle with the law,
Right.
and preventing offenses against the children actually.
Although if you could just touch upon a little bit about infrastructure, compensation, things that apart from whatever else you'd like to say, but if you could.
I think all stakeholders involved in delivery system of justice for the victim, the survivor of abuse, should be strengthened, like infrastructure, as well as the funding, as well as the resources that are required for helping the child. Like if you talk about the police, they should be strengthened. The lady police is a must for POXO Act.
Right.
There is no lady police in many police stations. So all this, if it is tied together, I think justice. But I would like to add one more thing. Our street children who are there, sleeping on the street, women begging with small infants, government has to have a home for them to rescue and rehabilitate them. This is a must. Because it's a crying shame that children are brought from out of the state and begging is being done with them in arms.
That's right.
And they don't even cry. So they are drugged as well. This is my say. And I think if you strengthen the system, everything will work fine.
Yeah.
And monitoring has to be there.
Yes.
The point Avadavega said about the people on the street sleeping and begging, I've been trying to work with the government, went to the corporation, Panjim, Margaon municipality. I have the place. You help me to pick these people on the road. I will provide food, shelter.
You offered this.
I offered.
Yeah.
Even last week we had a meeting in your WCD office. But it's all taking a long time. Yes, we'll do. Yes, we'll do. Everybody says it's wrong. It's wrong that women carrying a child and begging. But then nobody is doing anything about it.
And when somebody's trying to do about it, he's.
But we
not getting
can't
the
do as an
responsibility.
NGO without the government, without the police, because we can't just go and pick them. Then another NGO will file a case against me, saying that I'm abusing them. So, for me, for my side, what I would say that government need to be more department need to be more loosen up in supporting NGOs and social workers. Don't look at with a criminal eyes
Right,
what
right.
you're doing wrong.
Right.
Try to look at it with a complimentary eyes. Oh, these people are doing something. Let's help. They have all the right to come and inspect, monitor, evaluate, and even shut us down. They have the power. But look at it as more compassionate. We are trying to work day and night. We are going out of our way. See, I'm running a child care institution. If one girl turn around tomorrow, say that I touch her chest, I will get straight away arrested. You know that? There is no system to protect me. But we are risking our life to help these children. But we need more support from the government. There are more social workers are needed. The number of social workers, we all like self-made people.
Absolutely,
It is
yes.
not the right way. Every other work aspect, whether it is medicine or psychology or lawyer, everywhere there is an organized system. There is it's a high time we need to have more organized social workers being released, funded by the government or NGOs. So, and counselors in every school. Like I said in the beginning, prevention is better than the cure. If you can empower the teachers, if you can empower the children that how to recognize, if something happened to you, straight away child should go and tell the
Right.
teacher. If we can do that, we can get more people caught, more people punished, then less violence will take place.
Karan, if you could also touch upon the speed of justice, apart from anything else that you would like to.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of what everyone else is saying, I think basically the government has not even recognized that it is such a pressing issue,
Precisely.
and has not even analyzed the fact that is increasing to find out what exactly, where exactly they need to press the buttons, you know. So with regard to that, as I told you, even like the whole culture that it is promoting, whether it's a casino culture, whether it's a modern mass tourism, you know, with a hedonistic kind of lifestyle, all these are things which ultimately cause a lot of this begging on the thing, women and children selling artifacts on the beach, which are making them vulnerable. So government has to look at all these aspects to see, are they promoting a culture which in fact, you know, promotes this kind of violence. The second thing with regard to delays, as I said, like, you know, right from the beginning, if you want justice, then tighten up the institutions. Give, like even the POCSO court which was set up, for months on the poor judge is sitting there in the court, it says no backup, no infrastructure, we don't even been given guidelines how to function. So it's, I don't think the government has felt the urgency, the need or the necessity to, you know, like make things function. They just want all these acts to die a
You should
natural
ask
death.
Peter how he functions.
I've seen.
You know,
He
himself.
So
had
like
a very
this-
glorified office, 5-star.
It's like an
facility.
act which cannot act, basically.
The air conditioner and all.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Air
functioning
conditioned,
very
pre
well.
conditioned.
Anyway, so yeah, but I'm afraid we've run out of time, but this is a conversation that could even go on forever. This should not be bound by the limits of time or days or whatever. Metaphorically speaking, this is a conversation that everybody, every right thinking person, especially those who are in charge of taking decisions, should be having all the time. And I think the core of this lies here, that we're not having enough time, spending enough time on thinking about this as an issue that really needs course correction, though we have so many sensitive people. 5 of them are in this room here, but I'm sure there are many people behind them who they work with, and there's a whole ecosystem of good people who are unfortunately, you know, not getting tapped and not getting respected for the, you know, for their work by giving them infrastructure. Each of them, all they need is a little bit of support to take their efforts to their logical conclusion, and that is where the problem lies. Because unlike this whole adage of survival of the fittest, here what we are talking about is survival of the weakest, and the weakest need the kind of support that that we've all spoken about. The every aspect, from the government to the judiciary, to people who implement laws, to people who give justice, to social workers and NGOs, all of them need empowerment and support in a manner which needs to be scaled up to an extent which is far more than what it is now. Because so far, unfortunately, Goa's response to violence against children of any sort is far below par, and that is something that we need to course correct. Some of very important issues have been raised up, and I would also like to appeal to our other media colleagues as well to make this into a mission, because what's going to happen is, we do understand that all of us have children, have a larger society where children play an important part, and if we do not course correct right now, then several futures will also get destroyed, and that sensitivity needs to come from all of us. I thank all my panelists for contributing so much, with so much of sensitivity and passion, and we hope this translates into a lot of action. Here's hoping. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.